Hello all and welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining today. My name's Luke if you don't know, and basically I wanted to introduce you guys to my new series on Quant Network's Overledger, and it's going to be a bit more casual, a bit more laid back, and basically the goals of this is to kind of create a place where the community can come every week or so and we can discuss specific parts about Quant's progress, partnership announcements, the details of it, have a little bit of fun at the same time. It's going to be very casual, so there might be a bit of speculation mixed in there, a bit of price talk, things like that. I'm just a community member, so everything you see in this video is of course just my opinion. It's of course just entertainment. This is not financial advice, stuff like that. But I thought, I've seen other projects and stuff in this space, like Ripple especially. They've got a lot of YouTubers who talk about it and talk about everything to do with it. And I thought, you know what, that's a good idea, and there's so much going on at Quant that I feel like it'd be a great place for the community, not only to learn things, but just to engage a little bit more. And so here we are, I thought we'll call it the Quamfy Lounge. I mean, I don't, the name could be a work in progress, so if you guys think it's going to be something a bit different, then, we can work on it. But basically today I wanted to just talk about what is Quant in a very brief sense, what is Overledger and why I think it matters in crypto and why I think it's something other people should notice in crypto. And before we start, I think it's important just to talk about, cryptocurrencies in general and the market in general. I've been in here for a few years. You can probably tell I'm quite young, but I've been in the space for a few years. And initially, you get caught up in the euphoria, especially towards the end of 2017. You think everybody in the world's the best thing, right? You see like, oh, decentralized internet. You think, oh, these supply chain projects, like shit, yeah, like this is great. This is exactly what I want to. Everything's pumping. You think, God, it's mass adoption, right? And then throughout 2018, it just all hits you. You're like, what is this? And I mean, I don't know, how your perspective of the space grew, but for me, I was pretty much out of everything 2018. Halfway through 2018, I didn't really believe in many projects or many ICOs or anything like that. I just thought to myself, look, a lot of these problems that people are trying to solve aren't real, mega problems, and they're not things that enterprise or traditional people are going to be interested in or need, let alone the whole token. I mean, we haven't even started about the token, but I'll talk about that in a second. But for example, if we just scroll, we'll just refresh. Of course, everyone understands Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is not, it's not a project that's supposed to bring like mass adoption of DLT technology to banks and enterprises and stuff like that. So, of course, Bitcoin's got its place. Ethereum, it's Ethereum's adopted. But I'm talking more about things like, if we scroll down here, I'll try and find some things that, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but like a lot of this stuff here, like BitTorrent, like, it's a joke. What else? You got things like I don't even know half this stuff is BitShares, Bytecoin. I mean, look, things like PundyX, and this is when I'm going to start to delve into the token thing here. PundyX is a good idea. It's a good project. They're trying to, stimulate crypto payments, through credit cards, debit cards, things like that. That's a good idea. But the token, this is what people don't understand. I just don't understand how the token economics, is good for long-term growth. And I'll talk about that in a second. You got Quant, the beast. But if you think about it, even a lot of these protocol things like Walton Chain and stuff like that, even if, and this is a big bloody if, I mean, there's so many protocols out there now, it's almost unbelievable. But even if they do get adopted as such, or someone needs to use it, right? Most of the tokens in these spaces are just generated through like proof of stake or something like that, and are then used to pay like validators in the network, right? And so for me, any demand coming from an enterprise is usually just being like offloaded to validators. So really there's no like lockup, and they haven't solved the token velocity problem. A lot of projects struggle with that, For example, let's think. I don't really want to step on people's toes, but if you think of something like Well, pretty much any of these tokens, I mean, any of these, I mean, just scrolling down here, it's almost disgusting. I mean, you need to have a reason for the token to be, not only, in my opinion, the token needs to be 100% necessary. Through proof of stake, it is necessary because you've got gas fees and things like that. But at the end of the day, do you think hundreds of millions of dollars are going to be buying up tokens for gas fees? It just doesn't make sense. So what I realized, I got on a bit of a tangent there, but what I realized was these projects might be a great idea, but first step is getting a product working. Most of these guys can't even get a functioning product, RCOs and stuff. Their product is still in development, or their mainnet's not even live. The second step is to convince an enterprise, and I'm not just talking like a proof of concept or a testnet, but they need to be able to convince an enterprise that their chain or their product is suitable for them and suitable for them to uphold all of their systems and things to integrate. But not only now, but in the future. I mean, us crypto enthusiasts probably couldn't even tell you what the top protocol is going to be like in 3 to 4 years. So how are enterprises going to know? So those are the two main problems. But number 3 is, how does the token come into it, right? And so for me, I was kind of just looking at the entire space, and I'm like, I don't want to put my money in anything here, because realistically, if you look at it from a kind of just almost a pessimistic view, you kind of sit back and you think, well, none of these tokens are really going to get much enterprise demand, if at all. It's really just speculation. And so I was kind of in this dark place, I would say, with crypto, where I liked the idea, but just nothing was really standing out until it was about early to mid 2018. I stumbled upon Quant, right? And as you do, you start watching a couple of videos because you like the idea on the website. You thought, look, that actually makes sense to me. And the more I looked into it, the more the business case started to make sense to me. And I sat back and I said, why would an enterprise want to build on chain A or chain B when they can build on Overledger and they can have the ability to interoperate or build on all of them at the same time, right? And I was like, this has some merit to it. This isn't just a product that is, made for crypto kitties or BitTorrent, something useless. Like, this is something that actually has a bit of merit behind it. And, as you start digging into it a bit more, you start to realize that, well, hang on, these guys aren't just targeting, crypto dApps, because a lot of people will say, like, oh, there's no dApps in crypto. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the highest dApp on ETH is like CryptoKitties and IDEX, which is a joke, but that's because enterprises are hesitant to get into permissionless blockchains for a lot of reasons, a lot of vulnerability, regulation, privacies of data. Like, that's why zero knowledge proofs are so big. But moving on, I noticed that Quant had more of an enterprise target. Things like permission blockchains is really what it's going to be. Quarter your fabrics, and so it really started to catch my attention. And then I started looking into it, and they've got a product working. They've got clients. They've been at this for a few years. I'll make a whole nother video about, the birth of Quant, but, Remit was founded a few years ago. You look into Gilbert, I mean, you've all probably seen his CV, but for once I finally found someone and a team in crypto that actually kind of knew what they were talking about and had a bit of background. And specifically his stuff with the ISO, ISO TC307, I mean, that's a huge win. And then I sat back and I said, okay, Luke, so you've ticked number 1, you've ticked, they've got a product that works. You've ticked number 2, you can see the business case behind it. Why would an enterprise or business want to build on it? Step 3 for me was look into the token, right? And most of these things, you think, oh shit, like, here we go. Look into the token, and the first thing I realized is the token's necessary to the platform. It's an access key, it's a license. And I think, that's a smart idea, particularly as we head into tokenization of assets and things like that. There's a great video by Dragon Chain on micro licensing. But anyway, tokenizing of assets and licenses is a good way because it proves immutability, so you can't copy licensing. It allows the company Quant to have high cash flow on their books, high liquidity, high transferability, and it also allows for data to be transferred to smart contracts via tokens, right? So I was like, great, cool, this actually makes sense. So ticked off box 1, product works. Step 2, business case. Does it work in enterprise? is it going to gain adoption? Is there a reason for people to use this? Yes. 3, is the token mandatory to the network, right? And it is. It's mandatory. You need tokens. And then the Quant had a burn, right? They had a token burn. I was like, oh shit! Like the supply is even less, right? So if you look at, let's get some facts up. So Quant's total supply right now is 14.6 million, and I mean, holy smokes, that is low, right? And so this is just another like turning point for me. So I thought back, everything's starting to make sense, and so obviously I start looking into it, start buying it. And so I guess for me, I want people to realize that a lot of this stuff in crypto, even if it sounds like a good idea, even things like, I don't want to hate on Chainlink. Chainlink's one of the much better projects in this space, so I'm not going to hate on Chainlink. Things like Cosmos, for example, right? So the token in Cosmos, I'm not very detailed on it, so I don't want to get things wrong. But it's just another one of those things where you pay validators, transaction fees. But I mean, the inflation alone on Cosmos is incredibly high. It's like 20% a year or something. So I'm just like, there's no lockup capacity. There's no point having demand going through a platform for gas fees or whatever if the demand can't be captured. And that's why I really liked Quant, because the licenses get locked up. And so they reduce circulating supply. So the demand actually means something. Right, so anyway, I sat back, and obviously Quant's, got a super low market cap at the moment. We're still only ranked 70, which is just a joke. So you sit back and you think, where's crypto going in the next few years, right? And I'm just going to tell you guys my opinion. I think the majority of these altcoins will just slowly die out. I mean, sure, there's going to be pumps here and there. And I'm telling you, greed always is. If we get another Bitcoin bull cycle, alts will pump. It's just how the market works. Alts will pump. But I also think there's going to be more of attention on utility and actual use case. So for example, I mean, I'm not so too familiar on Chainlink's token metrics, but I don't think they're as good as Quant's, because I don't think there's proper lockups for the demand or whatever. But I mean, projects like Chainlink have kind of proven that already. They're getting more attention, more gains. They survived the most. I mean, they're closer to all-time highs than anything else. Quant's the same, because people recognize they're actually doing something in the space and doing something meaningful. So I think that trend's going to continue. All right, so if we know that, you got to think about the long term. What do I want to look at? I want to look at historical snapshots. And by no means do I think this is going to happen again, because 2017 I think it was a bit of almost like a black swan. What I mean by that is, I'm not sure we're going to get ridiculous pumps like that. I mean, we will, 100%, but not for shitcoins, not for things that don't matter. And so if we go to early 2018 and we scroll down and we check market caps, I mean, some of this shit is worth unbelievable amounts for no particular reason. You got Cardano at 30 billion. It was just a white paper then. It's just a joke, right? So I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I do think there's going to be some absolutely mouth-watering pumps for things that actually matter, things that actually get adoption. And so in my mind, Quant's going to be a top 10 in the next cycle, I think at least, because really there's nothing else in the space that's getting the enterprise adoption, and there's nothing else that can store the demand from that enterprise via the token like Quant can. And so if we extrapolate the fact that Quant's likely going to be in the top 10, we can see that the rough market cap is around 10 billion. And from here, that's still 100x. Now, you'll get the people who tell you, well, the cycles increase. Sure. I'm not going to tell you where I think it's going to land. I just know I think it'll be in the top 10. If that's 1 billion, if that's 10 billion, if that's 50 billion, I'm not sure. That depends on the overall crypto space. Now, if you're actually new to Quant and you don't know anything, you're probably thinking, what the flip is this guy talking about? Look, Quant's developed a product called Overledger, and it's based on linking not only existing networks, as you can see here, when we're talking about like via oracles and things like that, but also linking interoperability of different DLTs. But Quant's targeting interoperability at the application layer, which means they're not using another blockchain as a middleware chain or something like that. I'll actually bring it up. It's a good article. This is a great article if you're kind of new to the project, just to understand the difference between Quant Overledger and interoperability blockchains. Sex article is also really good. I'll bring up. If you're new to the project, I'd recommend reading through these. I do have actually 6 other videos on my channel that go through what Overledger is and all the aspects of Overledger, like the team, ISO TC387, the token, etc. But I just didn't think I'd go into too much detail in this video because I assume most people watching it, you know, were already a part of the community. Anyway, so you're probably wondering, why does it matter? Well, it matters because interoperability is big not only in the crypto space, in permissionless blockchains, but also in permission blockchains. You know, you have a lot of enterprises who are building DLT settlement layers and DLT platforms and their own identity solutions and things like that, but they're all running on separate siloed networks. So Gilbert kind of saw this coming a few years ago, and he's created a solution to that problem. And that's why it's a big deal. And you're probably thinking, oh, Luke, it's probably just another pipe dream. Sure, I mean, if you think so, but Quant's proven that they can get large size clients already. I mean, with SIA, if you guys don't know who SIA is, it's the Eurozone's largest financial infrastructure service provider, and they're using SIA to they're using Quant, to interoperate between their CNET networks. And now I'll do a whole nother video, or probably 2 videos on this, just to explain it. But to me, this is probably one of the bigger things we've ever seen in the crypto space. I mean, this isn't just talking about like using Ripple. I mean, look, Ripple's got a fair bit of adoption in the enterprise space. I'm not going to cut it, but the token isn't like. There's been a lot of, I guess you would say, controversy around the token on Ripple and how it captures the value. With Quant, it's very different. You know, all volume, all transactions going through Overledger, all licensing is in Quant, and the licensing is locked up for a period, you know, reducing the supply. And with such a low supply already, I mean, I don't have to spell it out for you guys, but it's huge. Another one, if you don't believe me about another one, there's another one is Axe Trading. And now you're probably thinking like, oh, is this SIA coin? No, as I said, it's the leading Eurozone financial infrastructure provider. They actually recently won an ECB contract. Let me pull that up for you guys, just so I know. Just so you know I'm not bullshitting you. Here we go. So the European Central Bank selected SIA to run one of their contracts as well. I mean, we can read this here. You know, a 10-year concession. So they're the real deal. They've got 570 banks or nodes under SIA, and they'll be interconnecting via Quant Overledger. Another one to know is Axe Trading, and this is recently actually, but they're a Wall Street trading exchange based in New York, obviously Wall Street, and they're opening a digital asset exchange for securities and tokenization of assets, things like that. And they've also recently partnered with Quant and using their Overledger to interoperate between. I'll make a whole nother video on this as well. I'm just kind of showing you guys. We look forward to partnering with Quant. The technology will allow a blockchain agnostic security token exchange to communicate seamlessly with issuers, traders, investors, and regulators across different protocols. Right. So Quant's definitely making moves in the enterprise space. You know, they can get adoption. I mean, these are just some of the partners that have been announced as well. There's heaps more, you know. And of course, they're a technology company. People always ask me like, oh, they've only got 2 clients or 3 clients. No, I mean, when was the last time Apple announced a client, you know, onboarding? You know, the team has said they've got hundreds of clients in the pipeline and working on maps, you know, and stuff like that. So it's kind of just, they're not going to make a press release every single time someone signs up and starts using the platform. But just know that the team are already making some pretty big moves with some of the bigger players in the space. And what encourages me the most is that, especially with SIA, is they're targeting at the infrastructure level. So instead of going to each individual financial institution or bank under SIA and pitching them Overledger, they go straight to the service provider, right? And so what does that mean? Well, that basically means that instead of, as I said, it would take decades to go around to all the banks and get them to sign on. But if they go to the service provider, SIA, it's like the rails. You can give it like the rails for the train, right? And the rails interconnect all the train stations, and Quant is helping to build the rails, right? So it makes sense because now they've interconnected 500 plus institutions in Europe through one client or provider, right? And all the volume going through again goes through the token. Anyway, this is going to get a very long video, so I might have to just talk about some other things some other time, obviously. But as I said, this is going to be like a casual little conversation about what's going on with Quant. I'll talk about every partner individually. We're going to have guests on. You guys might know Dread Bongo. He was going to co-host it with me, but he's been very busy at the moment. So I thought I'd just dive in, get an audience growing. We might hold like meme competitions and shit like that. See how we go. Anyway, there is one thing I wanted to touch on that a lot of people might kind of be sleeping on, right? And it's this. Simba Chain. Stay tuned to what's next with Simba. I mean, these guys are pretty much freaking shilling us, right? Look at this. Great stuff. Quant, Overledger. Notice these names here. Hyperledger, Quarter, Ripple. Interesting Libra. Right, and so you look at these guys and you're like, wow, Luke. Wow, look at them. They're just a cloud-based smart contract platform with 300 followers, right? Oh, look at us tagging everyone. But no, actually, Simba Chain. I'll bring up their website. It's basically like a user interface to be able to build smart contracts easily. So for example, if you want to build smart contracts and port them to different chains, you just go through Simba and you can write, I don't really know how to explain it. You basically deploy simple apps via simple APIs to the chains that they've connected, but they're still siloed. So what does that mean? It means the connectors are hard coded into Simba Chain. So it's not like a seamless interoperability between DLT like Overledger is. Overledger sits on top of them all, where Simba Chain is more of a one at a time sort of thing. And other people, people have asked me like, are they a competitor? Well, look, I mean, if they were a competitor, why would they be integrating Overledger? I mean, look, if they could do the same sort of level of interoperability, they wouldn't be adding another level of complexity or going to another provider. They would just do it themselves. So either Quant does what they can do already much better, or Quant allows them access to networks and clients that Simba Chain otherwise wouldn't have. And to be honest, it's probably a little bit of both. But anyway, it's on their website and everything. Very exciting to see, right? And it actually kind of stemmed from back here in 6th of July. It's kind of funny, right? You can shout out Dread Bongo. He did a lot of the heavy lifting here, talking to Simba Chain, because they started following a lot of us on Twitter. It was a bit weird. But anyway, they added, watch protocol, Quant's on a blockchain, but I get what they're trying to say here. Quant, Hyperledger, Quarter, and then the good to see lads. Everyone just jumps into the comments. Unbelievable stuff. Anyway, so that's happening, and it's big news for this reason. Who is Simba Chain? Well, Simba Chain is actually DARPA backed, and what does that mean? Where is it? I'll see if I can bring it up. So, if you don't know who DARPA is, if you don't know who DARPA is, let's see if I can find it. Oh, I can't find the article. Anyway, maybe it's in here. I had these up for a reason. Oh, here we go. About Simba Chain. Simba Chain was established in 2017 as a result of a grant awarded by DARPA, Defense. I don't know if you guys know that. It's like the not deep state, but like the science division and research division of the US military. To develop a secure, unhackable messaging transaction platform for the US military, right? So Simba Chain was kind of born out of the US military and born out of DARPA. Interestingly, they've got some strong connections to Microsoft. One of Microsoft's former execs joined them as an advisor. And they're also in the Microsoft startups, and they're big into Azure. Now, why is this important? For me, it's important because if Microsoft were working on something at a similar level to Overledger, then I don't see why Simba wouldn't integrate their solution. So for me, it's another big big tick of approval, right? Because a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of projects just struggle to get the adoption of traditional enterprises and traditional clients. But Simba Chain is another example of that. They see the use case for Quant, they see the reason for it, and they've integrated it. So it's great. What have I got here? So DARPA to integrate blockchain-based crypto platform. This is kind of how it was born. Very cool. I mean, Simba Chain is the real deal, guys. You guys do a little bit more research. But yeah, they'll be developing a military-grade encryption software using blockchain technology. Look forward to offering an enterprise solution for secure messaging to the industry. So that's kind of how they were born. You can see about it here, 2016, sort of things like that. And just recently, they also won a US Department of Defense contract. And I believe it was supply chain based. Yep, here we go. The Air Force will be using Simba Chain. These guys we just discussed to securely scale its additive manufacturing supply chain following a call put out earlier this year by the Department of Defense. Great stuff. So, I mean, what does this all mean in the grand scheme of things? You're probably thinking here like, geez, he's dragging on, is he? Well, I just want to prove to you guys that traditional people backed by big players, we're talking DARPA, Microsoft. I mean, Simba Chain isn't no little fish. Like, they know what they're doing. It's a great ecosystem. And I'm very excited. I'm very excited by this. I'm very excited. It's good to see them acknowledging Quant and acknowledging Overledger, and for them to be able to integrate them and see what it can do for them. I think it's just another tick in the box for me. It just says, look, these guys, they know what they're doing, they know what they need, and Overledger provides it. And the most important thing, if they ever use Overledger and any volume or transaction in licensing, again, it's just demand for the token. So it's exciting to see. All right, to end on a bit of a lighter note, I suppose. I mean, I'm no TA expert, but we can always have a look at what you're all here probably for. Price appreciation. Let's zoom out a little bit. So I'll just use the Bitcoin chart because it's what we're used to. But if you were with us for a while, we had a great run in February, 2-3x, peaked out like $4.50. Bit of a slow bleed. Couple of months, slow bleed back down to sub $2. Then we got the SEER news, and that kind of started our next cycle up. And so if you're kind of new to Quant, we just keep having boom bust cycles, kind of like exponential growth. Here we go. What are we on? Yeah, this is like the log graph. So you can see it's kind of just like cycle up, consolidate for a bit, cycle up, consolidate for a bit, cycle up, consolidate, cycle up, consolidate, right? This is just how growth works on a long time frame. It looks, this is similar to Bitcoin cycles. Looks like we had this, I'll be honest, we had this really strange, I think it was like an algo accumulation range, because every time it would wick up here, they would sell it down into the bottom and buy back up. But someone's been buying a fair bit lately, and they're trying to push us up out of here. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of falling wedge memes and things like that. I mean, it does look like we're breaking out a little bit, but exciting to see. So, yeah, I think that's all for me today, guys. Again, this is all just my opinions. If you like this concept of like a community engagement where every once a week or every 2 weeks we get together and chat about something, I might do some live streams so you guys can ask questions in the chat. But I think it's going to be good for the community to rally around something like this. So yeah, if you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to let me know. I'll link links to like the Telegram channels, Discord channels, like the website, business paper, sex articles, Gilbert's article as well. I'll link those all in the description. But most of all, I just wanted to say thank you. Yeah, and I do, as I mentioned, I do have 6 other videos. I made them a few months ago, so they're not really in depth. They're more like a basic overview of what Overledger is, why it matters, and kind of how it works. So if you're new to Quant, this is your first ever Quant video and you got no idea what I'm talking about, check out those videos, see how you go. And yeah, I think that's it for me today, guys. Appreciate it. And I don't want to say like stay Quamfy, but yeah, stay comfy, guys. I'll see you guys later.